The latest movie by Christopher Nolan, Oppenheimer, is a biopic on the life of the famous scientist who is rightly called the father of the atomic bomb. The movie briefly reveals the connection of the scientist with the Bhagavad Gita, the ancient Hindu-Indian scripture. But many have felt that this connection has received much less treatment than it deserved. Not because the film had to promote the Bhagavad Gita, but because it had to light up the mental universe of the scientist, which was largely constituted by the ideas of the Bhagavad Gita, in which the scientist had abiding and profound interest, according to the book American Prometheus, on which the movie is based. Therefore, we must explore this Bhagavad Gita connection of the great scientist. Oppenheimer received his higher education at Harvard University in the USA. There, he happened to study Eastern philosophy and Sanskrit. His teacher of Sanskrit at the university had great interest in the Bhagavad Gita, and he discussed often the Bhagavad Gita at a personal level with Oppenheimer. As said, Christopher Nolan's movie Oppenheimer is based on the book American Prometheus, which delved deeper into the Bhagavad Gita connection of the famous scientist. The book says that the Bhagavad Gita had a significant impact on the mind of the scientist, who would often say that the Bhagavad Gita is the most beautiful philosophical song existing in any known tongue of the world. Oppenheimer also praised his Sanskrit teacher, who introduced him to the Bhagavad Gita and renewed his feelings on the place of ethics in life. The reputed American science and culture magazine Wired says, and justifiably so, that the soul of a biopic is the inner world of the hero, on whose life the movie focuses. In this case, however, the movie Oppenheimer essentially focuses on the external drama elements, the events leading to the atomic explosion, and in the aftermath, the trial and the trial conversations. It says that the movie misses out on the inner world of Oppenheimer, which was inspired largely by the Bhagavad Gita, in whatever manner. The Wired says, judged against the life of its subject, Oppenheimer can feel like a bit of letdown. It fails to comprehend the woolier, yet more substantial worldview that animated Oppie's life, work, and own moral torment. It is reported that Oppenheimer used to distribute the copies of the Bhagavad Gita among his friends and to refer to the stanzas of the Bhagavad Gita even during his professional speeches. However, in the movie, the Bhagavad Gita connection of the scientist has been completely played down. There is one scene, that too a very strange scene, in the middle of which the girlfriend of Oppenheimer pulls out a book from the bookshelf and asks him to translate it into English. That this book was the Bhagavad Gita was not shown, and it looked like, somewhat like Sanskrit text. The translation is done by the scientist by saying, "I am become death, the destroyer of the worlds." Later on, when the atomic explosion takes place and a huge fireball bursts in the dark sky of the early morning of 1945, the same lines spring to the scientist's mind. "I am become death, the destroyer of the worlds." But nobody can make out what was the source of this line. Why his Bhagavad Gita connection has been downplayed in the movie is not known to us. In spite of the movie unwittingly downplaying the Bhagavad Gita connection of the great scientist, the world has come to know about it because of a great deal of mention of the fact in various news channels, newspapers, and magazines across the world. When the huge fireball burst into the dark skies of the early morning in the year 1945 at the time of the atomic explosion, and Oppenheimer could comprehend the near mythic status of the occurrence, two verses from the Bhagavad Gita sprang to his mind. One was, "Divi Surya Sahasrasya Bhaved Yugpadothita Yadi Bhasa Drishisa Syad Bhasastasya Mahatmana." The light emitted by 1,000 suns rising in the sky would hardly match the radiance of the Exalted One. The second stanza was stanza 32 of chapter 11. Karosmi lokakshayakrit pravruddho lokan samahartumehi pravrittah. I am become death, the destroyer of the worlds. That the Bhagavad Gita is a great book for life management and for making sense of human life has been apparent to many Western scientists, philosophers, educationists, and thinkers. Oppenheimer was one of them. However, this movie has sent a message across the world about the contemporary relevance and greatness of the book once again. It is clear from all accounts, the movie and the book on which it is based, American Prometheus, that Oppenheimer had an abiding and profound interest in the Bhagavad Gita, and he used to study it almost regularly. However, it is one thing to study the Bhagavad Gita and quite another to assimilate the Gita's ideas into one's life. In the next episode of this series, we would examine this aspect in particular, whether and to what extent Oppenheimer followed the Bhagavad Gita in his life. Till then, Hari Sharanam.